Whew,
All right.
man. I think we're live.
We are too.
Live, everybody here? Everybody here in the building? Fantastic. Got the tape guns going.
Always. Never
Perfect.
stops around here. you know?
Never stops, especially this time of year.
Yeah.
A lot of packages going out. We appreciate everybody. We got a pre-Black Friday sale going on.
Started today.
What's all in that?
So we have, first of all, we've got 15% off orders over $150, right? You get that
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I think so.
You hesitated, so I didn't know
Well,
if you said something wrong there.
I was starting with something else, and you were starting with that. So yeah, we have that. I know we've got 25% off handle kits
And CRB guide kits.
and CRB guide kits, which is big because we're going to be talking about some of that tonight. And from standard, performance, elite, LZR, all those kits are discounted.
Yeah.
And of course, we got free shipping.
Free shipping, yeah. And the clearance section, too, has been loaded up with all kinds of stuff, especially components, up to 75% off.
Yeah,
Can't beat that.
I think some people took advantage of that St. Croix deal.
Oh, yeah.
That was big.
Those went quick.
That was-
couple
that
days,
was
they were
Boom,
gone.
Gone.
Great
So,
deal on those. So.
Cool. So, like you said, we got clearance components, a lot of stuff in there. We've got some sales for the pre-Black Friday going on. I can't believe it's already that time of year.
Crazy.
So, I mean, you wouldn't know it outside here. It's, I think it was 82 today, maybe. So, for those that are getting snow, you know, best of luck. But, so, all right. So tonight, what are we doing tonight?
So we're going to talk about spiral wraps. So which is kind of a first. We've done an offshore rod build, you know, but we really haven't talked too much about spiral wraps.
We've done big game builds.
Big game builds,
We've done big worm builds. We've done builds 101. So
That's the big spiral wrap show.
the big spiral wrap 101 show.
That's it.
That's what we're doing.
But
So
we're also going to be talking about some guide spacing, some
Yes.
under wraps, everything that kind of goes along with your spiral wrap rod.
absolutely. Should we have left this up or take this down? Is that okay, guys? We're good here with the board? All right.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure. I know we checked it earlier, but no, we're kind of
Uh-oh.
hang on. Kind of hiding the logo a little bit, but you'll see why in a little bit. All right, so is everybody ready to get this thing going? Boys, y'all ready to get it cranking? Let's hit it.
There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission.
We're back.
Did I see episode 46?
46.
Episode 46. Man, it's been a heck of a run. We appreciate it. A number of faces and names we recognize from episode 1. So we're here. Episode 46. We're doing Spiral Wrap 101. Welcome to the show. We've got a couple watch parties going on. I know some people had started their own watch parties. We appreciate it. We also have Mud Hall Pro, Terry Big Show Scroggins has got a watch party tonight, and the reason he's got a watch party going is because we are going to give away a Terry Scroggins Pro Kit here on the show tonight. We're going to be doing Spine Finder and a choice of an LZR guide kit, so that's going to be a runner-up.
Yep.
We're also going to do a Pro Wrap thread kit because we're constantly talking about Pro Wrap.
Right.
So we're going to give away a thread kit for third place. Runner-up's going to be Spine Finder, choice of LZRs, and of course Terry Scroggins for helping us out, doing a little watch party. He's, loves the rod building game, and he's a big fan of Hunter. So he figured, hey, why not join the show, give something away?
Yeah.
And so welcome for those that are watching through the Terry Scroggins The Big Show watch party.
And as always, all you got to do is like and share.
That's it.
Drop some questions in there for us during the show. The more active you guys are, the more that our guys behind the scenes will see those comments, and more likely you are to win.
Absolutely. So I think it all works. All right, so we are going to kind of walk through the entire process. Yes, we're going to talk about spiral wraps, but we're also going to talk about some other little odds and ends as you go through this instead of just jumping right in. But we will be answering questions as they come in. I know we already have a full board of questions here with our handy dandy teleprompter that we got rocking. But so where do you want to start? I mean, is it, we've got guys that we talk about the new guide kits.
Yeah, the LZR guide kits.
So, I mean, we've got them. Tell us about that, because I know you do a lot of the purchasing, bringing stuff in. Where are we at with that?
Yeah, so these new LZR guide kits have been really, really popular for us so far. So for one, not only do you get this really cool carbon fiber box that it comes in, you get the full guide kit inside. And it's not, doesn't come in a bag, loose guides by itself. These are actually pressed into this foam, really secure, not gonna get damaged in shipping, don't have to worry about any of that, right?
Right.
You get to pick out of 3 colors. We got polished, black, and gunsmoke.
Cool.
Very sharp colors.
Nice.
And of course we can do casting, spinning, and then you have your 2 variations of whether, depending on what style, if you want the lighter duty or the heavier duty, you can
Right.
pick between those 2.
Perfect.
So yeah, super cool, really popular, and they're of course discounted because they come in a kit. Just like most stuff we do, you can't beat it. You buy the whole kit together, we give you a discount on that. So
Absolutely.
very good price.
That's awesome. So, we're not the infomercial type thing. So let's go ahead and get into the demo here. So, one thing, why don't you pull one of those saltwater rods off there?
One of these?
Yeah, that right there to your right.
one?
Yeah, that's fine. So, a lot of people, when we talk about guide sets, and it usually kind of goes spiral wrap, guide sets, under wraps, all of these things kind of come together, right? So, kind of do a quick, pro tip 101 type deal on what we talk about when we're talking about an under wrap, because especially on an offshore rod, this is actually an FP 937. You'll see us put this through its paces in some media coming out here pretty soon. But we actually built this FP rod with a 5000 series spinning reel. We took it offshore. We caught barracuda. We bottom fished with it a little bit. And we really put it through its paces because it's such a great blank. Now, along with this one, we've got an SW70M over there, also a bigger bottom rod. We all have the under wraps on there. Of course, a lot of people are asking, well, why or how are you doing, here, yeah, you can take that back. Okay. Why or how are you doing an under wrap, right? So if you look here, I've got the RBS Pro. I just have a scrap piece of blank chucked in here. And the TC4, of course, you guys know it, you love it. I really, really like it. Now, as I show you this, I pulled the band off of the RBS Pro because we're not going to power wrap with this. I just want to show, with the ball bearings on the inside of this, how easy I can rotate it and hand wrap with this thing. I can just back and forth, don't need a lot of effort. And a couple things about under wraps. So we've got size D on here, we have size A on here, and then size A with a little bit of trim band. A couple different things here I'm going to show you. The major point of this is picking your thread size and how you go about laying down an under wrap. So an under wrap can be short, it can be long, it can be the complete length of a guide foot. So for example, with this guy here, it can be the full length of a guide, right, with a little bit overhang on either side. Hopefully you guys can see that. So there's a little overhang on either side. You can actually utilize those edges of this under wrap as your trim band. So you can go ahead and lay it down. You can center that ring over these little trim bands here, and then that will allow you to use this as your trim bands on either side as you wrap over it. Now, when everybody asks, hey, well, do I use size A? Do I use D? Do I use B? What happens is I recommend using size A, and I'll show you why. So A is right here on this white. I've got D already spun up. So if you use D here on the bottom, and I'm going to pull out some A thread out of the TC4, and all we're going to do is we're just going to wrap like you would normally wrap, get it started, right? Straighten it up. You can already see we've now cut into this. Can y'all see that there? So you can see now there's a gap in it. I'll show you over here. This is nicely burnished, okay? Very nicely burnished. Everything's nice and tight here. You take size D on the bottom, you take size A on the top. We're going to lock this down and start a wrap. And I'm really not putting a whole lot of effort into this. And you try to start wrapping, and you can see I've cut right into it. Okay? Now you can start seeing these gaps. So you've got, now, the only way to remedy this is if you want to lay down this under wrap, put finish over it. If you really have to put down size D or size B and you really just want to use A over the top, use an absolutely just thin coat of finish on that. Take your Pro Coat or your Threadmaster, run just a really light bead across there, pretty much just soak it in and you're good to go. That'll seal those threads tight. Or you can use A on the bottom. You can straighten this up. Come in here with D. You can see how nice that wants to line up. Thread right on there. And of course, obviously, you'll do a little burnishing here. You can just roll with your hand. Okay. We'll back this off. And you can see that's still perfect. So there's no finish on this. This is just burnished, and I'll prove to you that there's no finish on it. You can see right there, that'll come right off. So use A on the bottom, burnish it tightly, same as I did over here on this far one. That's going to give you a really solid base to work with.
Awesome.
So that's your wrap tip, under wrap 101. People ask about it all the time, so there it is.
Yeah, and there's a huge debate of whether under wraps are actually useful on your rod, right?
Yeah.
And you know, people go back and forth, and of course it can be, for one, especially on your heavier offshore rods, it's going to protect that blank because you're using very rigid guides. You know,
Yes.
it could be roller guides, could be heavy boat guides.
Right.
When those, in some of those rods, you know, some are parabolic, they'll flex down into the butt. And, you know, when you get that parabolic bend against a rigid guide, it's going to start digging those guides, the feet kind of want to dig into that rod blank.
Right.
So your under wrap's going to protect that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a very good point. You know, some people just think it's decorative. It's not only decorative, it's also, you know, can be an integral part of that build, protecting the blank against those kind of rigid guide feet.
Right.
You know, I think everybody knows that anytime that, you know, a carbon material or carbon fiber comes into contact with metal in a heavy stress environment, you know, not something that you're going to find in a crankbait rod or, you know, a spinning rod when you're bass fishing.
Right.
But, you know, if you take an 80-pound class rod or, you know, those guys out there, you know, they're at the bridges catching the Goliath grouper and they got it humped way over, like, yeah, that's going to be somewhere where I'm going to want an under wrap.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, absolutely. You want to give something away?
Yeah, let's do it.
Speaking of that, all right, so guys, we need to give us a winner for the Pro Wrap kit. So they will bring it up. Pro Wrap thread kit. All right, so we got a question, and we got questions coming in here for the spiral
We
rack.
do, we do.
So we definitely need to get to that. It's great because we got guys talking about flipping sticks. We've got guys talking about you know, which way you run this, and we're going to get to all that. So give us a winner here for the thread kit so we can move on. And cool. All right. Well, we'll just go ahead and move on, and we'll wait for that to come in. All right. So we're going to talk about, now we got an under wrap. I'm going to backtrack a little bit because we're going to talk about spine finder and finding the spine using a deflection
Yeah.
tool.
And this is a huge deal, you know, not only just for spiral wrap rods, what our topic is tonight, but just in general, we always get questions about the spine finder. How to use
Always.
it, which way to deflect it, you know. So real quick, we're going to go over how to do it. And then later on the show, it's going to kind of come full circle when we
Right.
talk about the spiral wraps.
Exactly.
So we have, what you want to start with the blue blank
It's right there behind
right
you.
here?
Yep.
So what we've got is, first, a lot of people miss this part of the spine finder of how to spine a blank in a spine finder. You have to protect the two areas This spine finder has 2 ball bearings, one in the front right here, which you guys can't see unfortunately, but it is right here in the front, and then one towards the back, right? Where this blank contacts those bearings, you need to protect that.
Sure.
So just a couple rolls of 1/2-inch masking tape around the blank is going to do the trick for us.
Absolutely.
So we're going to put this in real quick.
Before you go there, I'm going to give something away.
Okay, got a winner?
Got a winner, Matt Grimm. That's Grimm with 2 M's and Matt with 2 T's. So Matt Grimm
There you go.
is going to win the Pro Wrap thread kit. We'll put a link in there for what that is. And Matt, congratulations. Slide into our DMs. We will get that thread kit headed your way.
Awesome.
Put it on your credit card
As always.
and let's roll.
That balance is getting high.
That balance is getting high. All right, so now that's a great point. You talked about protecting the blank, just as we were talking about under wrap, protecting that carbon against metal. There you've got it. We just used the half inch tape. This doesn't matter. You can use a couple wide bands. You can use whatever you've got. We try to put it on nice and tight because you don't want it to be like a spongy feel. You want to be nice and tight against that blank. Maybe 2 or 3 wraps around it. Just something to kind of protect it, not to cushion it. Just
Right.
protect it.
That's it.
So,
So we put it in here. I'm going to let you actually deflect this.
okay.
So
Tell
we'll
me
line
when.
up, make sure we line up our tape marks. See, they're there for a reason, right?
Yeah, right?
Cool. I'm going to give you a little spot here just to make sure, and I'll let you.
So when we pull this over, a lot of people want to talk about how much do we pull this over? Do we like all the way to the floor? Do we just do a little bit? What we try to say is you never take this rod out here in the tip. Like if you have a weight on here, if you're assisting me and I'm holding it, put a weight on it and you flex it over, you don't need to take this rod blank. You don't need to take this rod blank beyond 90 degrees. So what I mean by that is if you look back here and you look out here, that's about 90. So here to there, right? 90 degrees, okay? That's gonna give you what this rod blank is gonna do when it's under load. You really don't wanna take this tip and pull it all up underneath itself, or you don't wanna pull it all the way down to the floor. Not saying it can't handle it, but you're overexerting this blank. You're gonna, possibly damage it, and you don't need to do that to show where the spine is. You don't need to do that when you're doing guide spacing.
Right.
So here we've got a blank. You can already see it's starting to show itself there. And as you spin it, you'll find it, and it just wants to kick. So we got a flag on there. That shows you your spine. So depending on how you want to build this, if we're going to build this casting or spinning, we've talked about that. Depending on which one shows itself a little more, how you would do it. Casting would be up over here. Spinning would be up underneath here. Mark it. Take a China marker, mark it. You can leave this tape flag on here and then move right along.
Yeah.
So
Easy enough.
it's easy. It's an inexpensive item that mounts right to your aluminum tracks. We only have 2 of the tracks here set up because we don't have enough room for all 3. But that just mounts with a wing nut and a T-bolt. You can take it on, take it off, put it on your shelf. That's something that's really nice to have. So,
Cool.
absolutely.
Perfect.
Cool. All right, so moving on from that, I'm going to show you what a built rod looks like now that it's properly built on its spine. And we're going to show you,
A little bit higher in there. Perfect.
yeah, just put me right on that. Yeah.
There we go.
So this is more or less talking about guides, okay? Again, we're going to take the blank and we're going to go to about 90. You can see here and about there. So we're going to go to about 90. The guys always want to talk about, well, I have to have guide spacing. Please give me guide spacing. We do. But every blank is a little bit different, and if you really want to start to dial some of this stuff in and you don't have measurements, what I know Hunter and I have done, and also when we're coming up with some of these measurements, we figure out where our handle is. So I want 10.5, right? So from the butt up to the back of the reel seat here, where the grip and the reel seat meet. That is where I want to measure, because your reel seat and your foregrip might be different lengths, and that's going to give us a wrong measurement.
Right.
So give us from the butt to there. Then what we do is, depending on how powerful the blank is, if it's a heavy, if we're going to be flipping with it and we want to like bowstring it and flip it, we might add a little distance here. But what I would do is I live somewhere between about 19 and 21 with this first guide. So we're going to go 19 to 21 here. Then we're going to pull it over in a spine finder and we're going to find the apex. So right here, right? Pulled over, we got it about 90. That's where a guide goes, period, the end. Doesn't not here and not here, we put a guide here, right? So you've got a tip, you've got your apex, and you've got this guide here. Then we can kind of work through and see, you know, do we want 10 guides, 12 guides, 9 guides? From there, you know, these, you know, you can start maybe do 2.5, then 2 3/4, then, you know, and move it throughout, right? Make it somewhat aesthetically pleasing, but then also start to tighten your measurements up. Put a reel in it, run some line through it. But if you've got this one that's right at that apex of that bend, and you've got one 19 to 21 off of that reel, your guide set, you can easily, with that guide tubing, that GT guide tubing that we've got, you can set them on here, you can move them around a little bit, and in 5 minutes you can have exact guide spacing.
Exactly.
So
And that's what we refer to as static deflection, when you actually put that
Exactly.
line through there. And your goal is you want to eliminate those sharp edges between each guide. So if you see a sharp angle between one to the next guide, that's what you want to get rid of. So either you need to move those guides closer together. Sometimes you even have to add another guide in there,
yeah.
you know, which is not a big deal because, like you said, guide spacing that we provide is not always perfect depending on your reel, your handle length, and so forth. So it's always good to go by that spacing we give you, but also tweak it a little bit because it's custom rod building. You know, take that spacing that provides spacing, but make it your own. You know, customize it, and that'll give you more practice too in the long run. When you say we don't have spacing for a particular blank,
Right.
you can go and actually do it yourself. So
Because you can't expect a rod blank that's an extra fast to have the same guide spacing as a moderate fast, right? So as you go through that, that's just all those little tweaks that help you guys become a better rod builder. That's all there is to it, you know, and that's, I think that's a big, a big plus for the group that we've been having going on. I know the guys in the back created the Mudhole Lives Rod Builders Workshop group. That has been an incredible, I think there's 3,500 people now
wow.
in that. So about 3.5, 3.8, 3.4, something like that. And the great part about that is it lets us at Mudhole, the customers, other people in rod building, all interact with each other, you know, comment, give tips, give tricks. I think it's been great. So, all right, going to give some stuff away.
Yeah.
Get
And
that
then we got a
credit card out.
question. We got a question about you want to do the giveaway first?
Well, you want to answer? Let's answer.
Yeah,
this
so,
question. We haven't
so
done questions.
Leah, is it possible to have too many guides? Simple answer is yes. I mean, you can put 25 guides in a rod and it's not needed, you know. You want to get by with the fewest guides as possible because it's going to reduce weight, especially on your tip section, you know. That's where a lot of your sensitivity comes from, is in the tip section.
Yeah.
So you want to reduce not only the guide itself, but the finish, the thread,
All that.
all that adds up super quick, you know. So you want to eliminate as many guides on the tip, but you still want to have enough that your line, you know, doesn't touch the blank or fall below the blank.
Right.
So there's a common little edge there that you want to,
Yeah.
you know, get by with, but you could definitely have way too many guides.
Yeah, and of course, with that being said, I would rather have one too many than one not enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I could build you one that's got 22 guides on it for a 7-footer. It's just, no, the line will never touch the blank, but the guides will be ring to tip all the way out, and it'll be, you know, it just won't, it's just not right. So, all right, so seems like guys are really wanting to talk about the spiral wrap thing. So let me give this away. We're going to get the credit card out, the spine finder, and an LZR guide kit. So remember, Derek, the LZR guide kit comes in medium duty, light duty, spinning, casting, black, gunsmoke, polished. So Derek Masters, you just get to choose.
There you go.
So we're going to do a spine finder and an LZR guide kit going to Derek Masters I know I've seen his name in here quite a bit, so we appreciate you watching, following along, and you got a heck of a selection to pick from. I'm using the LZRs on a lot of stuff, freshwater and saltwater. They're bad to the bone, for sure. So, without further ado, I know everybody at the big show's probably watching. Let's talk about the Spiral Wrap, what everybody's here for. So, you want to answer some questions as we lead into this deal?
Yeah, we can do that. So I think a few of these questions come from our workshop, hopefully the Facebook online workshop.
Yep.
Hopefully you guys are tuning in right now. So, Josh, do Spiral Wraps have a use other than heavy boat rods? So yes, they do, and we'll definitely dive into this a lot more in a few minutes.
You taking that spine finder off so we can put that other rod on?
So, I think Chris and I actually agree on this one, this topic.
Yeah?
You're going to see. Wow, you really locked this one down over here.
Yeah.
I'll let you get that actually.
That's that pickle jar grip.
Is that what it is?
Gotta get it off. Yeah.
I think you got to pull this
Yeah,
pin
pull it
first.
out first.
So anyway, you're going to see the benefits way more on a heavy tuna rod, offshore bottom rod for a Spiral Wrap than you will a freshwater bass rod, even like a heavy freshwater rod.
Yep.
Which we'll talk about the benefits to, you know, the biggest one being the lateral torque of the rod. But yeah, you want to hit on that too?
Yeah, absolutely. So the real kind of the argument here with the whole Spiral Wrap thing is you want to pull, like Hunter said, you want to pull the lateral torque out of it, which means if you've got a fishing rod and it's from 6 o'clock up to 12 o'clock and down over, if that rod is not built on the spine, if it has tall guides on it and you're cranking on it, that rod's going to want to twist on you. So now, not only are you fighting whatever's on the end of your line, now you're fighting the rod either this way or you're fighting it this way.
Right.
Which is just a pain because, you know, you've already got your work cut out for you and now you're having to make sure that this rod doesn't twist on you. So with that being said, there is some guys that still use it in the bass world. And it's fine. It's not one of those things that's like, no, you don't want to do that. Where for me, if I was going to do it, maybe I would do it more in a flipping stick because I'm going to be flipping, go through a mat, and if I feel a bite, I am more inclined to set the hook straight up because the fish is just right there and he's under a mat and it's, you know, 65-pound braid, it's a 1.5 ounce tungsten, and I'm really going to be putting a lot of pressure on that fish.
Right.
Now, where the kind of other side of that comes in is when you and I have fished all kinds of things, you know, all kinds of lures and stuff, and we've watched videos and we've been testing rods and we've been watching how they bend and go, okay, well, is that bend right for that prototype and all that stuff? We have noticed that a lot of the times we're casting like this, then we're reeling like this, then we set the hook off to the side, next thing you know, we're over here. So we're not in this 12-to-6 type thing. So I would say probably 75% of my bass rods are thrown sidearm, thrown underhand. Yeah, every now and then we come over the top, but I never set the hook like this. I shouldn't say never, but not a lot. Most of the time you're here kind of at an angle or you're sweeping a hook set if, you know, you're fishing light line with an underspin or something. I mean, and then there's times that, you know, yeah, if you've got a topwater bite going on, yeah, I might be throwing, you know, big MB843. That's my go-to for a topwater, and I know you love it too. So like, yes, I might have like a big spook tied on, and I might be coming right over the top, throwing it really far, but the opposite effect of that is I've got the rod tip down at the water, the bait's walking, the fish eats it, and I just kind of sweep into the side of him and reel tight. I'm not setting the hook on a treble hook, you know, topwater bait. So there's a little bit of back and forth on that. But is it wrong? Absolutely not. I mean, I think we actually went out and we did a test where I took, actually this rod's got micro guides on it, had a spinner bait, took some braid, and we took it out to the pond, and it was raining a little bit, but I was out throwing it. You can see I can dump. Speaking of that, I've got it right here. So, this is an SJ842 in white, and I want to talk a little bit about this setup because this transitions into the first spiral wrap option. So these are a little bit smaller guides. You can see here as I rotate these around. These are probably number 5, and that's that Pack Bay, right? Is that what these are?
Yeah, I'd say 4s or 5s.
Okay, so 4s or 5 in the Pack Bay. What are these? The Minimas?
Yeah, those are minimas.
Yeah. So what we've got is there's a couple things I want to touch on. 1, the guides. 2, the direction and how this is set up. So if I was going to build a spiral wrapped bass rod, I would probably set it up just like this. I would go from what looks to be a 5 or a 6, and I'd go right down to my running guides. Because I do not want a tall guide out here in this first transition or in this second transition out here, because the more height gives you more lateral torque, and it's going to want to make that twist more, right? Plus, as you get out here in this one, where you're now completely on the underside at 180 degrees, you're going to want to run those out. These all need to be the same. So the only thing I would change about this rod, and of course this is a beautiful rod built by Pat, the only thing I would change is, and this gets talked about a lot, which direction do you go?
Yeah.
Do you go counterclockwise like this rod? Do you go clockwise? Does it matter? So I know that's a big question. We've got a couple questions in here about that, and that's why I want to talk about this. For me, there's not a performance reason behind the direction. Mm-hmm. The direction matters more the application for me. So, for example, I reel a bass reel, a casting reel, correctly on the right-hand side.
According to you.
You reel it on the left-hand side, and for whatever reason, right? But I reel it correctly on the right-hand side. So this rod is really, in my eyes, built for you, because these guides go counterclockwise, so they roll off to the left. The reason I say that is, when my rods on the bass boat, on the deck, when they lay down on the deck, they lay with the handle up on the right-hand side. So now these guides are pushed down onto the deck or onto the carpet, which means more breakages if you're stepping on them.
Right.
So if you're stepping on carpet, maybe not so much, but if you're stepping on a hard, a non-skid deck, you're going to have an issue. So as I talk about that, I'm going to show you here on the whiteboard. So what we're talking about is, here's the rod, right? And you have a guide here. So that's your first guide. And then the guides are going to go off this direction, okay? To the bottom, right? They're going to go this direction. This is what I would do if we had a left-handed reel for Bass World. We're doing this. We're going this way for a right hand. And that is only because when you set your rod on the deck and your handle crank is over here, it's going to sit up like that. That's really the only reason. So performance-wise, having that guide set up, I'm just doing it based on what way the reel's turning.
Yeah, makes sense.
So
that's probably an overlooked, facet that not most people would think of.
Well, and I think too, some people try to make it a little bit harder than it needs to be. Like, oh, is it, here in the northern hemisphere with the rotation of the Earth, do we really need to have it over here because our toilets turn this way? No, It doesn't have anything to do with that. So that's my 2 cents on that. Do you have any?
No, that's
other than the fact that I reel with the wrong hand. Is anything else
you
wrong?
finally admit it there, I see.
No, I don't know about that.
I guess we could probably. I'm good on that one. We can definitely probably move on from there.
Move on.
I would
no
say
arguments?
we're gonna hit a couple questions.
Yeah, let's do that. I think Anthony's got a good question.
What's Anthony's question? Is spiral wrap feasible in a 2-piece rod? Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
You pretty much do your spacing the same way, as long as nothing falls right on that ferrule. And if it does, you'd have to, space it ½ inch, maybe an inch to the either up or down the blank. More than likely up.
Yeah,
but,
for sure. You just have to remember when you put that second piece on there that the guides need to go on the bottom, or you'll
Twist
be,
it around.
you know, that's a good one to hand to a buddy when he doesn't know that it's a spiral wrap rod and the guides start to disappear around. He puts the guides on top. So yeah, Anthony, absolutely, you put one on a 4-piece rod. You know, knock yourself out. That's absolutely right. So no problem there. Joshua, any tips on building a spiral wrap flipping stick? Josh, that's going to go on what I was talking about here. With it being a flipping stick, with it being a bass rod, I would do, you know, probably a size 5 or a 6 as your first guide. And I'd go ahead and figure out what you're going to run it out in. For me, and I know you, we tend to do a 6 and a 5 and then 4s. Or I know that Fuji has that, is that a BLCAG? It's the like, it's kind of like a KW guide where it's like a really low, that surf guide. It comes in a 5 or a 5.5. So take that 5 or 5.5 casting guide and then just go right to 4s.
Yep.
So put that 5 on the top, because remember, the line guide coming out of your reel is probably a 5. There's really no reason in my eyes to go from a 5 to an 8 to a 6 and back to 5s.
Yep.
So just go to a 5, turn it over, go to a 4, and run it on around. Knock yourself out. Now, just figure out, are you reeling lefty? Are you reeling righty? And then just, you know, go to the direction of the crank.
Yep.
And then that way, when your handle's up, your guides are up. And kind of minimizes boo-boos and stepped-ons and all that stuff. So,
One thing I do want to hit on. So if you are building a freshwater or a bass rod with a spiral wrap, besides the lateral torque not being a huge factor as compared to offshore rods, another big benefit is the fact that, so you're essentially getting the guides on the underside of the rod, basically at a 180 from the top of your rod, right?
Yep.
So that's going to allow you to, for one, the fact that your line may, you know, if they are on top of the rod, people have trouble sometimes that if they're not spaced correctly, line touching the blank.
Right.
You know, either it going on top of the blank or even under the blank in some cases when you're actually fighting a fish or, you know, whatever it may be.
Right.
So with those guides being on the underside, you don't have to worry about that anymore. You might even be able to take a few guides out, maybe 1 or 2. You can space those guides a little bit farther apart.
For sure.
You know, that'll come down to static deflection, like we showed earlier, making sure there's no sharp angles. But, you know, just saying it's a possibility that you might be able to take a guide or 2 out, and pretty much you're taking weight off the tip, and you're just adding more performance.
Absolutely. And I think another, you know, we talked about that earlier, where every time you go down a guide size or even 2 guide sizes, especially going from like a 6 to a 4 or, you know, a 7 or an 8 to 5s, you're going to have to adjust your spacing. But in the world of pulling weight out of it, if you usually use 5s and you're thinking about using 4s and you run a spiral wrap, you probably don't have to increase a guide, whereas you might if you go from like a 6 to a 4, because the guide's small, the height's shorter, and you might have to, using 6s or 5s, add a guide. If you go to a 4, you don't have to do that now.
Right.
So not only are you removing the extra weight of the larger guides, but then you're being able to go down in a guide size without adding another guide.
Yep.
So now we're taking that weight and reducing it like twofold. So not only smaller guides, but not having to add a guide. So going from 5s or 6s to 4s, you don't have to worry about now, oh, well, I put 4s on there, now it's going to touch the blank. And no, it's not.
Yep.
So because you're underneath. So
Exactly right.
that's a great point.
Let's talk about the types of spiral wraps, because there's not just one,
No,
right?
no.
And so spiral wraps have actually been around since long time ago, like the early 1900s almost, like that far
Really?
back. Yeah. I did a little extra research. Yeah. So
Gather around, everyone.
3
Gather around.
types of spiral wraps.
Okay.
One is probably the most common that are used nowadays, and the one we actually, oh, look at you. The one we have on our, let's pull out our rod over there.
Oh, yeah, this
the
one?
one we showed on the promos and Instagram posts.
Pull that spiral.
Yeah, I
or
tried
that
to-
spine finder.
My T-bolt's kind of hung up in here. Oh, there it goes, actually. Perfect.
Come on now. We got to get Jen over here to pull it
Yeah,
off.
easy. So, the most common
Hang on to that, 'cause I
is...
need to adjust this.
Okay.
Don't spot me or anything, you know. Old Ben's going to be mad if we
Oh,
booger
yeah,
this one
yes.
up. You just hear his feet coming back here right now. Just, what? All right.
We gotta
Yeah,
show
slide
this.
that thing
We
down.
gotta show this wrap off too, because he did a good job on this.
He
This
did an
rod.
incredible job.
Let's go one more. Let's go one more. It's gonna lock down.
Perfect.
All right. 3 types of spiral wraps. Number 1, which we have here, the revolver. So, which is also kind of the acid wrap revolver, whatever you want to call it, right?
Okay.
The most common, I would say. So basically, you're starting at this will be the top of our rod, right
Right.
here. So we're starting at 0.
0.
Or, which we'll get to in a second, some people even offset this the opposite way that their spiral wrap goes.
Right.
So, first guide is either at 0 or maybe minus 1 to 5 degrees, depending, right?
Right.
Second guide is going to be at 60. Third guide is at 120. And then our last transition guide is at 180. So we're all the way underneath our rod. So that's the first one, the revolver.
Right.
Number 2 is the simple spiral. Simple spiral. God, I can't even say it 2 times. So
Here it is.
basically,
That one must be from 1900.
yeah, and it's not actually.
Okay.
So simple spiral. I can't even say it.
Just give me a test on this.
Simple spiral.
Okay.
That's more for your freshwater rods that we've kind of done our research on and noticed. The simple spiral is basically, it's a 3 guide turn. You're basically going to go from your 180 to
0 on top.
0 on top to 90, and then all the way underneath to 180. It's only 3 guides.
Right.
The reason why this is so popular with freshwater rods is, say we start with maybe an 8 here, an 8, and then our third guide would be
Probably 5.
probably a 5.
Okay.
So we're actually going to use like a size 4, what we call a bumper guide.
Bumper guide. Yep.
So what that does is it makes a quick transition from your, say, a 6 or an 8 guide, double foot,
Yep.
to a single, a number 4, maybe a number 5 micro. You're doing a quick transition to 90, and then all of a sudden you're going to be on the bottom at 180,
Yep.
and you're, use that same, whether it be number 4s or number 5s, all the way out to the tip.
Right.
So it's a quick transition and it's done.
Okay.
Third is actually the oldest,
Okay.
as far as I could tell and checked up on.
All right.
is
You
the-
went to the Smithsonian for this, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Field trip today. Yeah, this
Fantastic.
morning.
I was going to say, my
Is
arms are
the
tired.
is
Yeah.
the Roberts wrap. So this one's been around a long time. One of the first ones.
Yeah.
And basically
Lord Roberts.
Lord Roberts, from the 1800s.
fifth. Yeah, for sure.
It's just it's a very compact transition.
Right.
So, within a matter of maybe 12 to 15 inches, our transition is done. So, and that's meant more for very parabolic rods. Because essentially, what you want to do with these spiral wraps is you want your last transition guide, whether it be a 3 guide turn or a 4 guide turn, you want that transition done where your blank starts to bend. You want it done before that.
Right.
Meaning towards the butt. You want it to be wherever your blank shuts off at.
Yep.
Which we can show
Wanna
right
show
now.
'em?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, it's way easier to show than actually.
Put it in the belt, Hunter.
So,
All right. So what he's saying is, we've got this, right? So here we go. We've kind of got our apex here. There's a guide there. Come on, come on, come on. It's still a little bend here. This is pretty straight. So right there in here is where it stops. It starts to bend here a little bit from what I see. Hopefully viewers at home, I can see my reflection a little bit. Yeah, it looks like we're done about here. So that's where we go. We've got this one at 0, here, here. We're done here at 180, and then on the way out. So also with this wrap, when you're choosing guide sizing, with this turn here, which is the revolver,
yes.
okay, we're going to do whatever size guide this is. Should I lay off, or am I,
You're good. You're good.
am I wearing your arms out a little?
Fine.
Whatever guide size this is, we'll call it a 20. This guide and this guide need to match. So go 20, 12, 12, or 20, 10, 10, and then whatever you're going to run this out in, this one at 180 needs to be. So 20, 10, 10, 8, and 8s. Or 20, 12, 12, 10, 10s all the way out. That just helps keep everything kind of compact. It makes the most sense for keeping things close to the blank. What you don't want is you don't want a 20 here and then a 20 and then a 20 and then you start to get, because what you're doing is every time the guide is taller, you're increasing your distance here out on the side. So when you do that, you're going to actually negate your spiral wrap and bring in some more lateral torque because you're going to get away from the blank. You want to keep it tight to the blank. So do 20, 10, 10, 8s, and 8s all the way out. Something like that.
Cool.
So, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what I mentioned earlier, the offset.
Right.
So
Going to go back to the board.
back to the board. I'll let you draw while I kind of explain this a little bit.
Yeah,
or
and
vice versa.
you know, this is also going to go, and we'll also kind of expand on like which direction you go to.
Yeah.
All right, so we have the rod blank here. Okay. Telling you if that
Not that one.
Not that one. Yeah. It's like rod blank. You got to say rod blank 3 times and it shows up, you know. All right. So if this is going to be your 0 and 180, right? I'm going to try and put the guide. So there's your 0 and 180, right? Everybody got that? Because I'm going to delete the 0 here. All right. Now, what you can do is you can set your guide here instead of here, because what's going to happen is you put your guide there, and then your next guide is here, and then your next guide is here, okay? The line is going to go this way, okay? If the line's going that way, the line's going to be on this side of the guide, of this guide. It's going to be on this side of this guide. It's also going to be on this side of this guide. So if it's on this side of this guide, I want it right in the middle of where our spine's at. So this might be a little exaggerated over. If you have this and you have that and that and that, and your line's there, your line's there. If your line's over here in this guide, now you're off center. So you're kind of sort of adding in the torque that you don't want to add in. And don't get me wrong, I know that this is probably more than you want to know about this, but we get questions about this. So this is part of getting advanced, right? So I want to keep the line on this 0 to 180 plane. So I'm going to slide this guide over a little bit. And when I slide that guide over a little bit, I get this. So there's the line right there because the guide is now over a little bit. So there, boom, boom, boom. Now we put it here and out it goes. So that's going to be how to properly set that up. If you want to set this over, you know, maybe this is -2, maybe it's -4, whatever. Not 0, set it over. This is at 0. So I probably wouldn't do that. But again, that's just me. That is if you're going counterclockwise. Now, if you want to go the other direction, it would just be opposite. But everybody asks, well, why would I go to the left or why would I go to the right? So in most big game reels are going to be a right-hand crank, right? Your Penn Senators, your Tiagras, your International, all your big stuff is going to be a right-hand crank. It's not like a bass reel where you can buy a lefty and a righty. Most of the time you're going to step on a big boat, everything's going to be right-handed crank. Now, with it being right-handed crank means you have to level wind with your left hand, right? So, depending on how you level wind, some people like to level wind by pushing. Some people like to level wind by pulling with their thumb. You can actually use this to cheat a little bit. So remember when we said, depending on your bass crank, your reel there, you go this way or you go this way. If you have an offshore rod, there's your rod blank. If you want to push the line, you can set it and make it come this way. So it's here and your line's over here, right? So what's going to happen, then maybe you don't set it up perfectly, you set it up at 0, right? So now the line is going to want to lean towards the left-hand side of the reel. So you're cranking, right? So you're cranking like this. The line's kind of going to be over here because of this. Now, when you're winding on that fish, you push with your thumb as you crank, then you let it go while you're still cranking, and you might time it. I've seen guys that are really, really, really good at this, okay? You see the guys in big game fishing. They wind down, okay? Lift up, wind down, lift up. You can actually time it where as you're winding down, you're pushing to the right, you can reel up, and as you start to crank, your line's gonna wanna come back to you. Mm-hmm. So it's coming back your way, and you finish winding as you push it away from you. So you're not winding like that. You're only pushing the line one direction while you're cranking down. So that you can do that way. So that's an option.
Yeah.
So that's just one of those other things that, we sit around here, or customers give us recommendations, or the guys up front that do the big game stuff, they say, hey, think about this. You might want the line to purposely lean on this way. The one thing that I don't want is if I'm building a bass rod and I have the line way over here, because it has a level wind in it. And if you have it stacked to one side and you don't have it offset over here and in the center, you're going to be cheating that level wind, and then your reel spool is going to look like this, like that. So you're going to be heavy on your line over here if you have a level wind and you don't have this slid over. So that really needs to stay in the center. But if you have a non-level wind reel, depending on how you want to wind it, you can turn it loose. Now, some of the guys ask why, if I have a port side trolling rod or a starboard side trolling rod, should I have it wind one way or the other? The line's going to end up on the bottom. So I'm not worried about, is that a port rod or is it a starboard rod? I'm more worried about, when I'm cranking on it.
Yeah.
Do I want it to be like a push away and crank, or do I want it to be normal, back and forth? Some of the ones where the reel's real wide, like if you've got an 80 wide or a 130 and you got to go a long way, it might be better to have it where the spiral helps you a little. If you're using some of these really thin, I don't even know some of the names of, like a Torium or something, I don't know. Some of the high speed, like, a kingfish reel or a dolphin reel, things like that, the spool is much narrower and it's a high speed reel. You don't have to, your travel for your level wind and your thumb, right, your level wind is not a big long way. But you get a 130 out there, like you're going with it. So that could be an option that, maybe you guys don't think about. So let's hit a couple questions.
Yeah, so John, can you use the spiral wrap on a spinning rod? Nope, you don't have to.
Nope.
The guides are already on the bottom, so
yep,
good to go. Jeff, spiral wrap with AT microwave guides. Personally, I haven't tried it or heard of anybody doing it. So,
I mean, really, there's no reason why you can't. The American Tackle microwave casting guides are really just, it's a regular casting guide set that has a tiny little ring in the first guide. So, I mean, you just use that and then send it on around. Yep. Now, keep in mind, because it's a larger guide to a smaller guide, it really would be just like putting a smaller guide on there anyway. But if you go to turn it around, you don't have to deal with as much, this here. Because with a microwave guide, you have a big guide with a little guide in it. So, you're going to have less of this problem here. So that's just going to be one of those deals that you can probably just set it right in the middle and go ahead after it rather than offsetting it a little bit for a casting reel. But that's kind of up to you. I will say though, depending on what kind of set you're doing, whether it's American Tackle, whether it's a CRB guide set, if you want to do the bumper guide, buy the normal set of guides and then just buy your single bumper guide to match. So if you buy a Performance, an Elite, LZR guide set from CRB, and you want to do the little bumper 3-turn guide where you have a top guide, your small bumper at 90, and then the underneath, just stick with the same set. Just buy a matching size 4 or a matching size 5, and your set's done. You're good to go. So,
Yep. It might look a little funny. The bumper spiral does look
Yeah, it just looks a little out of place.
The less attractive, but
it works.
It works
and it's
very
been
well.
tested,
Yeah.
like really, really well. So, do spiral wraps still work with the general guide spacing? Yeah, they do. You know, you probably can even drop a guide out of some of that casting spacing. Don't quote me on that. But you're not constrained to the same laws of physics as you are when you put your guides on the top. Because your guides on the bottom, you can probably space them out, maybe lose a guide because you don't have to worry about touching the blank.
Anthony, do you have spiral guide kits? We do not. Simply because there's so many different sizes and types of rods that you can spiral with, and
Right.
you know, we could, but it would be so many part numbers and so specific guide trains.
Yep.
Like Chris said, if you're
Yeah.
doing a freshwater rod, you could almost go with the exact same guide train that you normally would, you know, without a doubt. Especially for the bumper, because all you're doing is adding another guide in.
Right.
For some of the saltwater rods, no, we don't have exact guide kits, but it's pretty straightforward as far as which sizes you would use.
Right. So, for example, if you're buying a guide set, all guide sets, especially CRBs, will have what guides that come in them. Okay? So, if you're buying guide sets and you look and you see an 865 and you want to use that for a spiral and you want to do a revolver wrap like this, 8, it's good. 5's perfect. Just add in a 6. Okay? So buy the kit, just add a 6 in there. Okay? If you've got a guide set, let's say somebody's giving you a guide set and it's got a 6 and then 5's all the way out, there's a couple things you can do here. 6, that's fine. Perfect. No problem. You can add a 5 in here and then 5's all the way around, revolver. You want to use the 6 and then 5's and do your bumper, put a 4 in here, okay? So just buy a 5, do the same. If you want to do the bumper, add the 4 in here and run it out. I'm not good at math, and still okay here. So yeah, just all you're going to want to do is if you do the revolver, these 2 transition guides need to be the same. If you want to do that really, really tight bumper that a lot of the guys on the bass guys do, just slide in a small guide. So 6.5, throw a 4 in there. If it's maybe at 8, 6, and 5s, do 8. If it's 8, 6, 5 and you want to do a bumper, throw a 5 in here maybe, and then go down in between, or even a 4. You just want to keep it close to the blank as it goes around. You don't want to increase that lateral movement. So, yeah. What else we got?
Let's see. So in a spiral wrap, you would want the spline on the bottom of the base of the rod. So Chris and I actually talked about this a little bit earlier. Really, you're working on the same axis, basically.
Same thing.
So it doesn't matter. So
Yep.
do it the same way you normally would spine a rod, and just go with that same axis. If
Yep.
yeah,
As you're talking.
show 'em. How about that?
Oh,
It's
you
much
got
easier.
it. Just go ahead. Talk through it.
So
There's your spine.
as our spine is on the top, we would put our casting guides on the top of this, correct?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to keep this the same exact way as it is now. I'm not going to flip it. I'm not going to do it to the sides. My first guide is going to go exactly the top of this, right where my spine mark is.
Yep.
And then at the very end, I'm going to be on the 180 of this mark, and it's the same as we normally would build.
And then you run the rest of them right here. There's no, don't worry about, oh, is my spine this or that or whatever. build it like you're going to build a casting rod and just roll the guides over. Finish the guides out on the bottom.
Yep.
It really is that easy. Ain't no thing. Do you prefer spiral wraps over conventional setups? Johnny, I don't love them. And I think you guys know that Hunter and I are both pretty honest on the show. You know, we don't push products that we don't like, or we don't, you know, we're pretty honest. The only reason, and it's superficial, the only reason I don't like it is because I don't love the way it looks. Period. That's it. It works. It absolutely works. If I'm ever going to do a spiral wrap, it's going to be on a trolling rod, it's going to be on a big game rod, something like that.
Yep.
You're not going to catch me with a spiral wrap on a bass rod. Not because it doesn't work. It's just me. That's why you see all my bass rods got black guides with black thread and whatever. I just like the look. I build it to work like that. It's just how it is. I'm not saying it doesn't work because it works. I just don't like them. I like them on the big game rods. You're not going to see it on a bass rod from me. But I'm telling you, I've seen some beautiful ones. This one right here, I would fish this rod, no problem. It's got the brand new CRB ALHD seat
Correct.
in Gunsmoke. It's got the matching gimbal in Gunsmoke. It's got the slim OD vertical jigging grips on it. This is the SWH. This thing is bad, like bad to the bone. It's got LZR MDs on it. I am 100% fishing this rod, 100%. Probably not fishing a spiral wrap bass rod though.
Nope.
Not
Me
because it
either.
doesn't work, just because I'm being honest. That's all there is to that. I mean, am I wrong?
No, I
You
agree.
there
with
too?
There are benefits.
Yeah.
Measurable? I would debate that for sure.
Yeah.
I've fished both. We fished conventional for a very long time and not had anything. The thing with me is, and you made a good point earlier, the thing with me is though with a freshwater bass rod, as opposed to a heavy offshore rod, with a bass rod, you're really holding with your, with your right hand or whatever hand you hold the rod with, you're holding a lot of the reel.
Yeah.
The reel and the reel seat.
Right.
With an offshore rod, you're holding this foregrip, you're holding maybe the side of the reel, most of the reel seat. With a bass rod, you have complete control over that rod.
Right.
You don't have to worry. Like a flipping stick, yes, I could see that. But with any other just normal 7-foot medium heavy rod, I don't have any issues with control or lateral torque.
Well, no.
And
Yeah, keep going.
and the hook set is a big thing too. I'm never, hardly ever, setting the hook straight up and down.
Right.
Or fighting a fish straight up and down.
No.
Because straight up and down, if you're fighting an 8-pound bass straight up and down, you've already lost. You have no control over that fish,
Yep.
he's gone.
Yep.
A stand-up tuna rod, how do you fight the fish?
Oh, yeah.
Straight up and down. You're
I'm in a
going
belt.
down. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm in a belt. I'm holding on for dear life. Got 2 hands on the foregrip, and I am cranking.
Yeah.
So, yeah, up and down, or even if you're in a chair. You got a billfish on, you got something like that, you're in a harness, you're in a chair. That chair's got a swivel on it. That rod tip is pointed at that fish at all times if your mate has a brain. Pointed at that fish, your captain's doing everything he can to keep you tight, and you have got the rod like this, perfectly right at that fish. You're gaining on him all you can, down and up. You're 6 to 12 constantly, but not where we're bass fishing, Mega long cast, sidearm, skip a dock, set the hook to the side. We're constantly off the spine, we're off the center axis, we're all over the place with a bass rod.
Yeah.
All over the place.
A couple exceptions for freshwater, muskie fishing for sure. I mean, those guys are using huge 7.5, 8.5 foot rods. A lot of torque, especially when they're doing the figure 8 at the boat and that fish hits. I want to have a lot of control over that rod.
Absolutely.
And that's where I would do it for sure in freshwater.
That would be a good point. That's a great point. Yeah.
Catfish, huge catfish.
Yeah.
Something like that. Some heavy freshwater application.
Yeah,
But
that's a great point.
Besides that, not on a bass rod.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I think that's I think that's a great point. Again, the CRB, they're ALHDs?
ALHD.
Okay, so the ALHD sliding hood here, it does have a channel lock in it. Keep it nice and sturdy. It does have a double locking nut with, there's your insert right there. Keeps it good and snug. You can see how nice this is. How many colors we got? 2, 4, 6, 7 colors maybe? 7 colors with matching gimbals. Now, keep in mind, we have a rounded gimbal right there. We also have a straight gimbal. So that gimbal right there that you see on the table has a radius to it. That's the one I like the best on my rods that I build for offshore. There's a straight gimbal as well, but they all match.
Yep.
And the colors really are incredible. So that's black and gold, black, Gunsmoke, silver, red, blue, and all gold.
Perfect.
So, and we do have, you know what?
What else you got?
Hunter, you didn't bring those new gold CRB seeds.
Oh,
with
I
the
forgot
hood?
about those.
That was my fault. So, your regular GSRS and GCRS, I think? Yeah, they got a gold hood on them. So, those are in as well. And we have offshore barrel seats, CRB, black, silver, and Gunsmoke in size 20, 22, 24, and 26.
And 26.
That 26 is a hammer. That's a big one. Yep. So, all right. So, for all of those that have been watching all night, we really appreciate it. But we have a grand prize to give away. Hopefully, I haven't worn all the magnetism off of Hunter's card tonight because we're doing a Terry Scroggins Pro Kit. We appreciate everybody that's been in the show tonight from the watch party that the Big Show's been having going on. I'm sure he's probably shooting worms into a mold, pouring something, painting crankbaits,
Grilling,
building fishing
cooking.
rods. I bet it's got the green egg out. You know what we need to do? We need to tell Mom to ride up to Terry Scroggins' house and bring back some of that barbecue that the Big Show does because I'm telling you what, I can only take so many Hot Pockets.
It's getting old.
Maybe, I think what we'll do is we'll have Terry to the new building. When we do the new building, we'll have the Big Show with the big green egg for a big barbecue. Bring him on in here. Come on. This is Jay, everybody. Cool. So, these are the big dogs. That's the new CRB products right there. That's the offshore stuff, 20 to 26. And they have a new, you used to get a CRB sticker here in the middle. Now you get a stamped into the mold CRB products. That's coming soon for all seats. And then there's your
The gold ones.
all gold everything right there, boy. Have at it.
Sharp. Really sharp.
Really sharp. Cool. All right, Matt Bradley, you need to run over to mudhole.com as soon as we're done with the show, and you need to pick you out Terry Scroggins Pro Kit because that is what you have won tonight. Matt Bradley for the Big Show Terry Scroggins Pro Rod Kit. Slide into our DMs. If you got any questions on exactly what you get to pick out and this, that, or the other, go to the Pro Kits page. The boys in the back, Guffey and Taylor, will put a link in there for you and select what you want. There's a lot of great kits in there from cranking to light line all the way to flipping.
He's got them all.
I'd probably do the flipping stick, but that's just me. So, Matt Bradley, congratulations. Do we have any more questions that we missed? Hopefully not. Scroll down there. Let me redo the. So we've got Matt Grimm, 2 T's in Matt, 2 M's in Grimm. That is the winner for the Pro Wrap Thread Kit. Derek Masters, you're taking home the Spine Finder and LZR Guide Kit. And then we have Matt Bradley is going to be fishing with a Larry Scroggins Big Show Pro Rod Kit here very soon. All you guys got to do is slide into the DMs and we'll hook you guys up.
Got it.
What you guys giggling about back there, huh? Terry Scroggins, that's what I said. What did I say? I did not say Larry Scroggins. Get out of here. You guys, I know it's late, but I know Terry.
Too many Hot Pockets.
That's exactly right. All right. Thank you guys very much. Be sure, mudhole.com. We've got free shipping going on, literally on everything. You order 1 decal, free shipping. You order a rod blank, free shipping. All orders till the end of the year. That's 12/31/2019. I can't believe that the Roaring 20s are coming back. 2020 is around the corner. So free shipping till the end of the year on all orders. Of course, always show up in the Mud Hole Lives Rod Builders Workshop Facebook page. We put a lot of work into that. Answer questions, pre-show, post-show. Please continue to post all your pictures and all that stuff. We really appreciate it. And then, of course, the pre-Black Friday sale is still going on. Hope you guys had some money saved away, because it's going to be some good ones coming soon.
Oh yeah, a lot of good stuff. Check out that clearance section.
Clearance section.
And
that's
this
a good
sale
point.
runs for several days.
Several
it's
days.
not just 2 or 3.
They're not just turning it off tonight.
It runs through next week, I believe.
Does
Is
it?
that right?
Ooh, man. All right, well, Hunter, we need to get your credit card out. We need to go into the back, start shopping. What else? Did we forget anything?
I don't think so. I think that covers it.
Guys, 1, 2, chance? No?
Well,
All right.
we do have one more show
Yep.
in this basement.
Which is going to be the finishing show.
The finishing show,
Yep.
the big finish show.
The very big super finish
Play
show.
on words there, because that will be the last one of the year.
Yep.
Little spoiler alert there.
Okay.
But
It's all about the finish.
it's all about the finish.
There it is. That is going to be in 2 weeks, I believe. So right before the holidays get going, before you guys get fat on turkey and whatever, we're going to give you the big finish show for 2019. Yeah, that's going to be great.
Can be huge.
Cool. All right. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the Spiral Wrap show. Hopefully it'll get you guys doing a little spiral wrapping. And I'm going to take this rod and I'm going to go fish it.
There you go.
I don't care what Ben says. So, all right. As always, Hunter McCamey, I'm Chris Adams. For everybody watching and the crew, we'll see y'all next time in the basement.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.